Some of the most powerful characters in anime are the ones who had every reason to give up. The ones who lost friends, lost faith, and lost everything, yet still chose to do the right thing. I like to call them the broken mentors, like Kakashi and Gojo. Two men haunted by grief, two men who could have walked the path of hatred, like the people they once called friends. But instead they chose to stand in the light, and somewhere along the way they became mentors to the next generation. Not because they were already healed up from their trauma and chose to just take up teaching, but because guiding the next generation became their own way of fighting back, of holding on to the part of themselves they refused to let die. Kakashi had seen what the shinobi world could do to people. He lived through loss, through war, and through the silence of the Anbu. But instead of turning cold, he placed his hope in the next generation, such as Team 7. Not just to make them stronger, but to help them hold on to the parts of themselves the world tried to take from him. And then there's Gojo. He saw what happened to Geto. He saw what the world did to someone kind, someone idealistic. And instead of turning bitter, he placed his hope in the likes of Yuji, Megumi, and Yuta. Again, not to just make them strong, but to help them become the kind of people to revolutionize the broken world of Jujutsu Kaisen. So this video will be dedicated to Kakashi and Gojo, the broken mentors who had every reason to fall, yet still chose to rise. Not out of heroism, but out of something quieter and far more beautiful, which is conviction. Before they became mentors, Kakashi and Gojo were just kids in a system built to break them. Both were geniuses, both were prodigies, and both felt the weight of the world on their shoulders from a young age. Kakashi's story is one of quiet collapse. He was the perfect shinobi, followed the rules, did his duty, and one by one the world took everything from him. His father, shamed for choosing lives over orders. Obito, lost in a mission Kakashi never forgave himself for, and Rin, killed by his own hand. Then there was Minato, his final anchor, gone in a flash. Kakashi was left with nothing but silence, and yet he stayed. He could have fallen into the darkness, and he almost did, but something in him, some small piece that still believed in protecting others, survived. Gojo's fall was louder. He was born with overwhelming power, treated like a king, but when he finally believed he could protect everyone, the world proved him wrong. Riko Amanai, followed by Suguru Geto, was that proof. His best friend, his equal, the one person who truly understood him, disillusioned and lost. Not by some villain, but by the very world they are trying to save. And Gojo, he blamed himself for not being strong enough to save Riko, for not seeing how much Geto was hurting, and for believing that power alone could protect what mattered. And just like Kakashi, he had a choice, to pull away, to burn the world down in return, or to stay and try again. And as we saw, they both decided to stay. Not because it was easy, but because even broken people can still believe in something better. The tragedy of Kakashi and Gojo isn't just what they lost, it's who they lost, and what those people once meant to them. Because the path they could have taken was shown to them by the very people who once taught them how to hope. Obito was one of Kakashi's first real comrades, the one who challenged his cold perfection, the one who told him those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. Kakashi spent years believing in rules, and Obito taught him to finally believe in people. And for a long time, Kakashi carried that lesson, thinking Obito had died as the kind person worth remembering. But when the truth came out and when he learned that Obito had survived and turned against everything they once stood for, it wasn't just a shock, it was a wound that reopened everything. Yet Kakashi stood firm. He held on to the lesson, even when the man who taught it to him had let go. And for Gojo, the case was similar. In his youth, it was Geto who believed in people. Gojo was reckless, arrogant, and focused on power. But it was Geto who reminded him of why they fought. That their job wasn't just exorcism, it was protection. That Jujutsu sorcerers existed to shield the weak. But after they lost Riko Amanai, it broke something in both of them. In the immediate aftermath, while carrying her body, Gojo asked Geto if they should just kill them all. All of the people in this room celebrating the death of Amanai. He said he wouldn't feel a thing if he did. And even then, before reaching his own breaking point, Geto tried to hold on. Tried to remind Gojo of who they were. And later on, where Gojo doubled down on Geto's ideals and chose to become stronger, more capable, Geto gave up. He didn't just walk away, he became the enemy. He declared war on the very people he once vowed to protect. And Gojo was left holding on to the ideals that weren't even his to begin with. That's the heartbreak. The people who taught them to believe were lost to the world they were once trying to change. And the ones left behind had to decide, do I let go of what they stood for, or carry their light into a world that no longer deserves it? Gojo and Kakashi decided to carry it even when it burned, even when it meant living with the memory of the people they couldn't save. Because sometimes the most painful path is not falling apart, it's holding it together. Kakashi and Gojo became mentors because they refused to give up, and in doing so they found something they didn't expect, a reason to believe again. For Kakashi it was Team 7, 3 young shinobis each carrying their own burdens, and suddenly Kakashi wasn't just an elite ninja ninja anymore. He was responsible for something fragile, something human. But it was Sasuke who hit the deepest. Because when Kakashi looked at Sasuke, he saw himself. The prodigy, the orphan, the one trying to stay sharp enough to survive his grief. And he saw where that path could lead him. To isolation, to vengeance, to the kind of cold detachment Kakashi had lived through in the Anbu. He knew what it was like to lose everything and keep walking anyway. And he didn't want Sasuke to carry that weight alone. Kakashi tried to reach him, to be that voice that Obito was once for him, to change the ending. And while the story didn't go the way he hoped, Kakashi tried. He didn't run from Sasuke's darkness, he stood in front of it. That's what makes him more than just a teacher. He wasn't there just to instruct. He was there to protect the parts of himself he couldn't save. And Gojo made a choice. He alone wasn't going to fix the system, but he could raise the kind of people who might. Yuji, Megumi, and Yuta, they weren't just students. They were a second chance. A chance to do it differently, to care without holding back. To build something that wasn't just about power, but about meaning. Gojo didn't need more strength, he needed connections. He took in Yuji not because it made sense, but also because he believed someone like him deserved a chance. He trained Megumi not just for his talent, but because he saw a boy burdened by duty, the same way he once was. And with Yuta, he saw a kindred spirit, isolated and dangerous, but still capable of love. Someone who just needed to be believed in. Gojo saw in them the spark that Geto once had, and this time he wasn't going to let it go out. Because both Gojo and Kakashi, in trying to save their students, unknowingly saved the parts of themselves they thought were gone. We often talk about strength in anime as power, as who's the fastest, the strongest, the most unbeatable. But sometimes strength is just not giving in, not letting grief turn you cold, not letting betrayal turn you bitter. Gojo and Kakashi were both given every excuse to fall, to shut the world out, to give up on the people in it, because the world took away everything from them and then kept asking for more. And yet they stayed. They didn't become perfect, they didn't heal overnight, but they chose to keep going, to protect others, to teach, to try again. Even after everything the shinobi world took from him, Kakashi stepped forward for Team 7. Even after losing Geto, Gojo placed his hope in the next generation. They could have turned away, but instead, they chose to care again. They stood their ground and passed on the best parts of the people they lost. Because that's what makes a broken mentor beautiful. Not that they're invincible, but that they chose to fight not just for the world as it is, but for the world they once believed in. And that's where I'll end this week's video. Thank you so much for watching, I really hope you enjoyed it. As always, feel free to let me know down in the comments below what you thought of the video. I go through as many comments as I possibly can. And of course, if you did enjoy, feel free to like and subscribe because I'll be posting weekly anime analysis videos. I mentioned this in my previous video as well, but feel free to also let me know what animes are your favorites, whether it be current or in the past. This way in future videos, maybe I can cover some of your favorite animes as well. But yeah, that's enough from me, so once again, thank you for watching and I'll see you all next week.